What is the very first thing like people think of a country? The famous landscapes, delicious foods, or people's characteristics? These things could all contain in one big section, identity. As Australia a big country, it is really hard to find out the Australia identity because there are so many different characteristics. What do people think the most appropriate identity for Australia? The blonde hair, gold sand, white beaches, and these identities seem not relative to each other. That's why it is really hard to ensure an identity for Australia, and it has so many sections of identity because there are many different types of people and multifaceted identity. To me, an international student who comes from China, these three things like come to my mind when I talk about Australia are beaches, multicultural, and the most famous of Australia friendly relationships, the Mayship. As we all know, Australia is surrounded by ocean and it is famous for the beach culture. When people talk about the Australian beaches, the words sunbathing, surfing, and the classic sunbugs come to mind. However, Australian beaches are beautiful but also fraught with many dangers. The poem The Surfer, written by Judith Wright, supports the point. At the beginning, the poet describes a nice sight of a strong surfer on the green tube wave without fear. The description of surfer makes people excited and looking forward to the beach. However, in the last part of the poem, after the gold sun gone, the ocean turns into a horrible face. The poet describes it as the grove of sea lions snarling. This plot shows the danger of the sea. Another poem, Summer, written by Luke Davis, also supports the scary beach. The whole poem is filled into a sad and heavy atmosphere. It says sky brews, the seaweed crunches underfoot, the boy breaks his neck, and so on. These two stories show us the joy of beach, but one like ocean can be very dangerous. This is the complexity of Australian beaches and also show us the Australian people are tough and strong, like the environment, and they are very wary about things because things can change so quickly. The second identity of Australia is multicultural. Australia was a colony of the British Empire. Lots of people from England migrated to Australia in the 18th century. The gold rush also brought many people from Europe, China, India, and other Asian countries immigrated to Australia. People from different regions could not fit into the new culture straight away. They felt uncomfortable and weird with people, and some were shocked by the new lifestyle. These feelings are evident in the short story Neighbours, written by Tim Winton clearly. The newcomers are Australian and the neighbours are migrants. It took 6 months for the newcomer to comprehend the fact that their neighbours were not mugging each other, merely talking. This quote demonstrates like couple who had just come to a new space were tormented and annoyed with their new neighbours. After a certain amount of time, the newcomers fitted in. They started to grow a garden and they were helped by the neighbors. At the beginning of the story, both the couple and their neighbors had prejudice, but after a while, everybody was satisfied with their new neighborhood. The main point that this story tried to show us is the combination of different people from different regions came together to form a new group, and they accepted each other and developed their life and country together. The story also shows that Australians have slowly developed acceptance of other cultures over a period of time. The last cultural stereotype is the one that really touched me, the mate shape. Mate is used in everyday language of Australians when they talking to each other. It is so deeply embedded into Australia culture and also shows the equal, loyal, and friendship quality of Australians. Mateship is a concept that can be tracked back to the early days of colonies. When first the settlers of Australia came to Australia as a prisoners, the guards were men, and the prisoners formed strong friendships with the common bond of disliking authority. In the modern society, there's a poem called A Maid Can Do No Wrong. No matter what a maid may do, a maid can do no wrong. This quote represents like mateship is number one and the loyalty between maids. And king-like. Shares in storm and shine. A throne of life with you shows that maids think they are almost perfect, and describe them as kings shows that they supported each other forever. In Australia, mateship is not just a friend, but means sharing experiences, respect each other, and unconditional assistance. So these three cultural ideas I talked about are all have a great impression in my mind, and they are the symbols of Australia's to the foreigners as well, because they belong to completely different sections, so it is hard to find a general identity for Australia. Australia has also got other brilliant identities, but this is just the Australian identity from me.